Is it just me, or has enemies to lovers become the literary equivalent of slapping a gluten-free label on water? Everyone's doing it, but half the time it doesn't actually do or mean what they intended to. Don't get me wrong, I like this trope. There's something satisfying about watching two people who genuinely can't stand each other slowly, reluctantly, begrudgingly realize that they'd sacrifice themselves for one another. But most writers rush through the enemies part so fast that they might as well just write friends to lovers instead. So in this video, we're going to break down how to actually write enemies to lovers in a way that makes your readers feel that delicious tension, that slow burn, and that earned payoff when your characters finally admit their feelings. We'll look at the 7 common mistakes writers typically make with this trope and how to fix them. If you're new here, my name is Brianna and I post videos every Sunday that help you become a better writer. I also make easy to use writing workbooks that help you build and outline your novel from start to finish, so if you're interested, check them out in my Etsy shop, Planner Palette Co., linked in the description below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Now before we dive into the mistakes, let's establish our example characters that I'll be using throughout the entire video. I want to stick with the same characters and premise for all the examples rather than using varying ones like I have in my previous videos. I feel like this way it'll be more coherent and easier to follow. So we have Elowin, a skilled knight sworn to protect the royal family of Eldon, and Darois, a rebel leader fighting to overthrow that same Elden royal family because he believes they're corrupt and bleeding the common people dry through taxation and tyranny. As you can see, Elowin and Darois are actual enemies, not just he bumped into her and didn't apologize and now they hate each other. That kind of scenario makes for rivals, not enemies, and while rivals to lovers can be fun, it's a completely different beast with generally lower stakes and less intense animosity. Now, let's talk about the mistakes. The first mistake is making them fall too fast. This is hands down the biggest mistake I see with enemies to lovers, and it drives me up the wall. If your characters go from I want to punch you in the face to I want to kiss your face in the span of 2 chapters, they're not enemies to lovers. You've instead written 2 people with anger management issues who have mistaken adrenaline for attraction. Real enemies to lovers takes time. It's a slow burn. Sometimes it's a glacial pace. Your readers should be screaming at the page saying, just kiss already by the midpoint of the book, not by chapter 4. Or if your story spans multiple books, then sometimes it's better that they stay enemies until the 2nd or even the 3rd book, depending on how many parts are in your story, of course. So a weak example of this might be in chapter 1, Elowin captures Darois after a failed rebel attack. He's her prisoner, she hates everything he stands for. He's trying to destroy the kingdom she's sworn to protect. But then, in chapter 2, he makes a sarcastic quip about her fighting technique, she smirks despite herself, and by chapter 3, they're having heated, tension-filled moments where she's questioning everything while he's shirtless and brooding in his cell. By chapter 5, they're kissing. Let's rework that a bit. A stronger example could be Elowin captures Darois after the failed rebel attack. Before the first quarter of the book, their interactions are pure venom. She interrogates him, he goads her, tells her that she's a blind servant to tyrants, calls her complicit in the suffering of thousands. She shoots back that he's a terrorist, a murderer who's killed innocent people in his crusade. Every conversation is a battle, neither one gives an inch. Now the turning point doesn't come from tension. It comes from a forced alliance. Maybe the kingdom is invaded by a common enemy, or maybe Elowin discovers evidence that Darois might be right about the corruption, which forces her to question her entire worldview. That's when things start to shift. Not because he's hot, not because of some contrived forced proximity, but because the foundation of their hatred is beginning to crack. The weak example here is instant attraction with a thin veneer of conflict. The stronger example is an ideological battle that has to be dismantled piece by piece. The second mistake is making the hatred surface level, and this mistake goes hand in hand with the first one. If your character's hatred is based on something shallow or easily resolved, it's not going to sustain a full enemies to lovers arc. Oh, he was rude to me at a party 5 years ago. She got the promotion I wanted. We're competing for the same goals. None of those reasons qualifies the kind of deep-seated conflict that enemies to lovers requires. It needs to be rooted in fundamentally opposing values, beliefs, or circumstances. The kind of stuff that makes reconciliation feel almost impossible. So a weak example might be that Elowin hates Darois because he once embarrassed her during a tournament when they were younger. He made a joke about her form and everyone laughed. So now, years later, when she encounters him as a rebel leader, that old grudge fuels her hatred for him. That's just personal beef, not enemy-level animosity. The only way that could work is if they're still hormonal teenagers where any slight against their person is a crime against humanity. Otherwise, that kind of animosity will fall apart the second he apologizes or explains that it was just banter. So a stronger example might be that Elowen hates Daenerys because his rebels unalived her mentor during a raid, someone who was like a father to her. Daenerys hates Elowen because she represents a system that let his sister pass away in his arms when the royal healers refused to treat common folk without payment. Both of them have legitimate, devastating reasons for their hatred. Reasons that aren't surface level misunderstandings. They're personal wounds that run bone deep, and they're what makes the eventual shift from enemies to lovers feel earned. Third mistake is skipping the reluctant respect phase. Enemies to lovers shouldn't go straight from hatred to love. There needs to be a middle phase. It's that phase of reluctant respect, and it's absolutely crucial. This is where your characters start to notice things about each other that they don't want to notice. Skills they have to begrudgingly acknowledge, or moments of vulnerability that humanize the enemy. So a weak example could be that after being forced to work together for a single mission, Elowen suddenly realizes that Daenerys isn't so bad after all. She starts seeing him differently, the hatred just evaporates. Now she's confused about her feelings because he's actually kind of attractive when he's not trying to overthrow the government. This is lazy. This is what happens when writers know where they want their characters to end up, but don't want to put in the work to get them there naturally. So a stronger example could be that during their forced alliance, Elowen watches Daenerys risk his life to save civilians, even people who curse his name. She notices that he takes less food than he needs and always gives his rations to the wounded if needed. He could have left her behind when she was injured, but he carried her to safety despite her protests and despite his logic telling him that letting her die was better for his cause. She still hates what he represents, she still hates what he's done, but she can't deny that he's not the monster she thought he was. There's honor in him, conviction. In fact, maybe he's not evil, but rather just on the opposite side of an impossible situation, especially when she's learned the reason why he's fighting against her kingdom. And on his side, Daenerys sees Elowen defend a commoner from a guard that she knows is corrupt and arrogant. He watches her question orders that don't sit right with her conscience. He realizes she's not a mindless soldier. She genuinely believes she's doing the right thing. She's been lied to and manipulated, but underneath all that loyalty to the crown, there's a woman with a moral compass that might actually align with his under different circumstances. This is the reluctant respect phase. They don't like that they're starting to respect each other. It makes them uncomfortable. It creates internal conflict, which is the bread and butter of good character development. The fourth mistake is forgetting that they're supposed to be good at being enemies. Your characters are enemies for a reason, so they should be good at it. They should know how to get under each other's skin, and they should know each other's weaknesses and how to exploit them. And too many enemies to lovers stories forget this and just have the characters bicker half-heartedly without any real bite. So a weak example might be that Elowen and Daenerys trade generic insults. You're impossible. You're insufferable. I can't stand you. It's like watching two people read from a script of enemy cliches without any real understanding of why they hate each other. A stronger example could be that Elowen knows exactly how to wound Daenerys. When he's being self-righteous about his cause, she brings up the innocent people who were unalived during his raids, because she knows it haunts him. And he fires back by pointing out that she's complicit in a system that oppresses thousands, that her honor means nothing when it's in service of corruption. These are targeted strikes at each other's core beliefs and guilt. It's psychological warfare. And now, when they eventually fall for each other, this intimate knowledge of each other's darkest fears and deepest shames becomes the foundation of a much more profound intimacy. Mistake number 5 is making the love confession come out of nowhere. The moment when your characters finally admit their feelings, whether to themselves or to each other, needs to be earned. I feel like that should be the word of the video. Earned. It should feel inevitable, but also surprising. Like, oh my god, of course this is going to happen, but at the same time, I can't believe this is actually happening. So a weak example could be that after weeks of working together, Daenerys just tells Elowen he loves her, out of the blue. Maybe after a near-death experience, or during a quiet moment by the campfire. She's shocked, but then admits she loves him too. Roll credits. This is what I call the plot told me it's time to get together confession. It doesn't emerge naturally from the characters, it happens because the plot requires it to happen in order to progress. So a stronger example could be that the confession doesn't come from a place of comfort or safety. Maybe Elowen thinks that Daenerys is going to be unalived, and in that moment of potential loss, the truth rips out of her. Don't you dare die on me, you insufferable self-righteous bastard. Not when And she can't finish, because finishing the sentence means admitting something that terrifies her. Or maybe Daenerys is in a scary situation and he catches himself smiling, because he just knows what sarcastic remark Elowen would say about this. And then he realizes with dawning horror that somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing her as an enemy and started seeing her as a place of comfort. He doesn't want to overthrow the system she protects anymore. He wants to change it with her by his side together. The confession should feel like it's been dragged out of them against their will, because falling for your enemy feels like a betrayal of your cause, of your principles, and of yourself. Mistake number 6 is losing the spark once they get together. You know what really grinds my gears? When writers finally get their enemies together, and suddenly all the fire, all the passion, all that delicious tension just vanishes. They become a bland, generic couple who are sweet and supportive and boring. So a weak example of this might be that once Elowen and Darrowis admit their feelings, they're suddenly soft with each other all the time. The banter disappears, the challenging of each other's viewpoints stops. They're just two people in love who occasionally remember that they used to be enemies. A stronger example of this might be that even after they're together, Elowen and Darrowis still argue. They still challenge each other. She calls him out when his plans are reckless. He pushes back when she's being too rigid. But now there's affection underneath the friction. Now when she tells him an idiot, she's looking at his lips. Now when he argues with her strategies, he's got his hand on her back. The dynamic that made them interesting as enemies should evolve, but not disappear. The passion should remain. They should still be the only people who can truly challenge each other. In this case, Elowen and Darrowis still argue about what they believe is the right way to reform the system. Darrowis wants to take an aggressive approach, but Elowen still has personal ties and emotions to the Eldon family, and she doesn't want to see them hurt. Because even though they're together, that doesn't make all their prior feelings and relationships disappear. It's just that now they're on the same side. And this leads me to the last mistake: ignoring the aftermath. Now, this is something that a lot of writers seem to forget, that when enemies become lovers, there are consequences. Other people are affected, loyalties are questioned, trust is broken. So a weak example of this might be that Elowen and Darrowis get together, and everyone just kind of accepts it. Sure, some people are surprised, but there's no real fallout. Elowen's relationship with the Eldon family takes a hit, but she just walks away to be with Darrowis. The soldiers under Darrowis's leadership poke fun at him for falling for the enemy, but otherwise there are no real consequences for the knight who fell for the rebel and the rebel who fell for the knight. A stronger example of this might be that when Elowen's fellow knights discover her relationship with Darrowis, she's branded a traitor. She has a devastating fight with the Eldon family, crying and all. They try to imprison her, but she's able to fight her way out and escape. Now, when Darrowis's rebels find out, they question whether he's been compromised and whether he's abandoned their cause for personal feelings. Whispers of a mutiny start to be heard. Both of them have to fight to prove their love doesn't mean betrayal, and that they can love each other and still fight for what's right. This is the complexity that makes Enemies to Lovers so rich. It's about two people falling in love despite every reason not to, and then having to deal with the aftermath. So there you have it, the 7 most common mistakes writers typically make when writing Enemies to Lovers and how to fix them. Take your time with it. Make the hatred real, make the transformation earned, and whatever you do, don't let them kiss in chapter 3 just because you're impatient to get to the romance. The wait is what makes this trope so satisfying. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you might want to watch this one next. And tell me, what's your favorite Enemies to Lovers book or movie, and what about it appealed to you? Drop your answers in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until the next chapter.